Let's rock and roll.
Hello, everybody. It is Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, and that means it's Tuesday Night Live with Chiro Destiny, Rick and Brett. And this is like a huge homecoming for us because Staff Sergeant Shilo Harris has been a friend of ours in the chiropractic profession for years. We got to share a stage years back in Las Vegas at Parker Seminars, and we've been friends ever since. And because of this craziness, we're just all sort of all over the place and doing our thing. So it's just great to connect with you again. So why don't we just first say, you're looking great, and we can't wait to hear what you've been up to. And so just share a little bit what you've been up to.
Oh, well, you know, that's actually a really good conversation. I'm sure it's probably a similar conversation to a lot of people out there. I mean, obviously, my life has changed a lot, not just this year, but, you know, since meeting you guys, me and my wife, we took a little bit of time off, you know, and this was going to be our year. We were going to get fired up, get back out there and start making these conferences again and start doing presentations. Well, we had about a year and a half of presentations booked out, and we lost all of our jobs in about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what just happened? And so, you know, fortunately, you know, my wife and I both, I don't want to say that we had it planned, but, you know, we had plans to say, okay, well, after this sabbatical, after our time off, we're going to do enough to, you know, keep the lights on and stuff. But we're thinking about what was going to happen next, you know. And I think that right now, if you didn't already have that plan, there's a lot of people that's just kind of in shock and awe about, what am I going to do now? You know, what happens next? And then there's those that their schedule really hasn't changed that much, and that's great. So, you know, I mean, that's what we're up to. Obviously, that's a big topic for everybody right now, is what's happening in our life right now. But there was something that another really good friend of mine that I hadn't seen in a long time. It's ironic that today seems to be that day to be making past acquaintances and past friendships. And anyway, he was just like, hey, man, checking in on my brother. And he's like, hopefully this craziness will pass and we'll get together again. And I'm like, oh, we can get together now. I don't care, you know. And I'm like, let's go play golf. And I said, we can live our life. And anyway, but we were sitting there talking back and forth, and the conversation got brought up. And he's like, you know, he said, I just feel bad for some people. And I'm like, you know, I said, I really don't. I mean, yes, there's some really bad things happening. And yes, I feel bad about those particular situations. I was like, but look at it as a whole and all the good that's been coming out of it. I mean, people are really measuring what's important in their life right now. Their health, big one right now, especially with this particular conversation, health, your time, your faith, your family, all of these things that we kind of took for granted because our schedule's so hectic and we're running and we're going and you know what? It's me and my sister were talking not too long ago. Me and her both obviously have kids, and she says, you know, she said, I feel like a super mom, you know, because it's like my kids are home a lot and we're spending time and we're not letting everybody go run around. She's like, I'm teaching them all of those life lessons that I didn't feel like I had time to teach them before because they're on their way out with their friends or they're doing their studies or something. And, you know, and I've talked to other parents that are in that same boat. You know, this is a really good time to focus on those things that are important in your life and start recalibrating your life, because it's not like there's going to be a switch here in about 6 months and all this just goes away.
Right.
This is something that's changing our culture and changing our lifestyles, and I think for a lifetime.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more, Shah. I mean, you put the head on the hammer and nailed it right in. Would you do us a favor and take us back and what led up to this point in your life? Because, you know, you've really been through a lot emotionally, physically, spiritually, more than most people. I hate to use the expression, but to the average person, I would say you've been through hell and back and then some probably. And to sit here now, all these years later, and say what you just said, one, it's beautiful for you to be able to say that. And I think a lot of people can learn from that. You've inspired a lot of people. You've motivated a lot of people, including yourself, including us, by the way. When I first heard your story back when we were at Parker, Vegas, I mean, I couldn't really believe it until I saw you in person and just heard your story then. But for those viewers, because a lot of people that weren't there don't know your story, do we have your permission where you could tell your story and how you got to this point?
Absolutely, man.
I think just because I think it's very compelling.
Well, yeah. I mean, I know people look at
Sure,
that
you've
and think,
told it a thousand
they're
times
like,
anyway.
dude, what the hell happened to that guy? You know, I'm like, but so something else I forgot to tell you. So today was my official first day of college. I decided I was going to go to school. I lost all my work, so I said, you know what? I'm going to go back to school. We're going to figure out what that next thing is. And you know what I said? I just feel God leading me. And so today was my first day, and I'm not going to lie. I'm 45. I hadn't been to like school classes in probably 20 years.
Right, right, right.
I was a little overwhelmed earlier, but it was just one class, and then I'm trying to get my schedules and everything. But the school actually started yesterday. I finished up my paperwork yesterday, and so I already feel like I'm a week behind. So
Wow.
now I'm like
Right
playing.
into it. That's how you roll. That's how you've
Slow
always done
it
it
down.
that
Are you kidding me?
way.
I mean, seriously, what would I do if I ever felt caught up? I don't know.
Right, right.
Overrated.
Right.
But yeah, back to your question and a request. Take us back. So yeah, here we come. September's coming up right around the corner too. So maybe this is another good thing that we're on this video together. Well, I joined the military after 9/11/2001. September 11th. We all know what that is, especially you guys right here, and probably a lot of our viewers. A lot of the viewers remember that day very well, or if they're not old enough to remember that day, I'm sure that they have attended, memorials or something like that. I mean, everybody. It's still part of our society today, because it was one of the worst attacks in history, not just American history, but history in itself. We lost almost 4,000 innocent lives like that. It was one of the most heinous attacks ever. And I, like a lot of other young men and women, not that I was real young, I was 27. I decided to join the military. I wanted to do my part, because when that happened, I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I felt kind of helpless, and I wanted to do something. So I went down and started talking to the recruiters. They got me signed up. I signed up for 6 years. I went into a combat MOS. I knew what I was getting into. I joined the Army. I went into the United States Cavalry. And I'm a kind of a John Wayne fan too. Oh, look, that reminds me. My wife, she bought this for me. She was so proud of it too. She went to a friend of ours' little shop there in Cocoa Beach, Florida. And
Nice.
anyway, she found that.
Yeah.
And anyway, she was like, "Oh my gosh, I got you this wonderful gift." And yeah, it's got all kinds of little sayings that, mantras that John Wayne has said. So anyway, there I was, decided to join the United States Cavalry, and it wasn't horses like I had grown up watching John Wayne. My first deployment was in Iraq. We were on tanks and Bradleys, all heavy equipment, big, heavy, loud, big guns. And that was my first tour in Iraq. It was with the Big Red One. The craziest thing is knowing now everything that happened and transpired on that deployment. I'm just going to say this, and for whatever it's worth, I wish we had had chiropractors on our base. If we did, I mean, I think we would have been in our prime. We would have all been very fit and prime, because one of the problems with heavy equipment like that is you wear this, I can't remember. I think they call it a CVC. A lot of my terminology has been out now, but yeah. So we used to wear these CVCs. It's got the muffs, and you can be able to talk, like a little boom mic, and it's got a hard shell. And one of the things is you always catch your dadgum head on the top part of the vehicle, and it just like twist your neck and your shoulders and everything. And I just kept migraines over there.
Ooh.
My neck was always sore, my shoulders, and then of course the equipment. You got all this heavy equipment. So if we'd have had chiropractors, I think right there on the fob, man, we'd have been unstoppable. But anyway, so speaking of that particular deployment, yes, we had those issues, with the neck and stuff like that, but it was very Wild West on top of that. A lot of explosions, getting in gunfights and stuff. It was exciting in a sense, but it also taught me a lot about my mortality. Led me into my second deployment. I felt like I went over there as a young man and I came back grown. That second deployment was with the 10th Mountain Division. This time, excuse me, this time we were like Humvees, you know, not the big heavy equipment. Even though some of that equipment was still operating in our areas, our particular unit was all light infantry style. We were doing more dismounted operations, and one of the cool things that I get to tell, and I really enjoy sharing, is that this isn't just a combat story, you know, about arresting bad guys and all that stuff. Although that stuff was cool, but you know, me being a father and a man that you know loves his family, I got to experience the side of war that a lot of people don't get to see. I was able to escort medical teams into areas where people had never even seen a doctor. You know, I mean, they had their local uh, wise person. You know, I don't know the proper terminology, and I don't want to say anything insulting. But you know, they're local wise person. You know, and it's not like a medicine doctor, but you know what I mean. You know, it's like you go see your grandparents, be like, "Oh yeah, just put a penny under your tongue." You know, but you know, that's kind of the comparison I'm imagining in my mind. We're rebuilding schools, taking school guys out there. I mean, we're really trying to help rebuild and build rapport and do good things. Because I wasn't just there to tear things up. I was there to help rebuild and encourage that country to live better. And that was just me doing my part trying to get the bad guys out of there. And so, you know, those other side of it was great. Well, on February 19th, 2007, my Humvee, which was the third Humvee and the convoy of 4 trucks, we were all on our way to investigate a possible IED. And IED, roadside bomb, you know, that sort of thing. Now, these things can literally be anything. It could be a soda can filled with C4. It could be a grenade in the wall. It could be, I mean, literally anything that explodes. So we didn't know what we were looking for, but we were on our way over there to the reported site. About halfway to that location, my Humvee literally erupted. 3 of the 4 Humvee doors got blown off. The entire top of the Humvee was blown off,
Mm.
and I lost 3 of my friends that day.
Oh, God.
We were a crew of 5. My driver and I were the only 2 that survived. I was the truck commander, and I was knocked unconscious initially from the blast. I don't really remember a lot, obviously, you know, and even waking up, it was still like I knew my bell had been rung. One of the first things I did was try to call up a radio report. I was holding the hand mic. I wasn't hearing anything. So I threw the hand mic down, tried to uh, start getting out of the vehicle. And it was weird because I remember looking up, and it's funny because here in the last few months, I don't know what's changed, but I've been having a flood of memories, like very vivid memories. And, you know, even around the time that I met you guys, which was, you know, not shortly after my recovery was, you know, doing well. I mean, I met you guys down the road a piece, and I still had a lot of blank spots in my life in
Mm.
general. And
Right.
here lately, I've just been having a lot of memories. And so I remember looking up, and it was like everything, it was just like I was looking at the sky. And, you know, and I was like everything was black and hot. And I knew I needed to get out of the vehicle because I could feel the flames. And however, I managed to get out of the vehicle. My door was the only door left on the vehicle, and it was embedded in all that dirt and that asphalt from the explosion. Well, as I got out of the Humvee, I was standing there and looking around. Everybody seemed to be kind of busy bee, just running around, and then all of a sudden, everybody just stopped, and they were just staring at me. Well, as an NCO, I started barking orders. You know, I'm like, hey, you keep doing that over there. Hey, take care of the driver. You take care of that, and start calling up a 911. And I'm pointing at people, and everybody's still just looking at me like, oh my gosh, you know. And I'm sure I look like a mess, you know. Well, anyway, I look over to the lead vehicles. Remember, there were 2 vehicles that were in front of us. So one of the guys over there was waving at me, trying to get me to come to him. I could see his lips moving, but I wasn't hearing anything. Everything was still just wah wah wah. You know, uh, the I felt my leg burning, and I happened to look down, and the flames kind of licked me in the face. Well, my body armor was on fire, and the material from the body armor that was burning was melting and running down my leg. So I took my body armor off, had to get that fire put out. It's probably a good thing I did. I mean, this is like another divine moment. You know, it was like there were 200 plus bullets that was about to start cooking off on me. It was my ammo pouches that were on fire.
Oh, geez.
So I get that fire put out and get that taken care of while I turn back around to see what my buddy wanted over there. And all of a sudden, he comes behind me, and I feel him connect with me from behind. Now, you got to think, I don't have any body armor on, my cowboy's gone. But when our bodies connected, my ears popped for the first time. And I heard this pop and a zing, pop and a zing. And it was weird because it was like an altitude thing. And then all of a sudden, I could hear all these bullets flying around me. I didn't know what it was at the time, but the thing that popped in my head was, well, great, now they're shooting at me. But we knew we needed to get over there and get in cover, whatever the case was. I get laid on the ground, and they start CLS or combat lifesaver procedures, getting me ready for the medevac. Come to find out, the truck that I was just standing beside took my body armor off right beside it. All the bullets inside that Humvee were cooking off and flying all around me. That's why he was trying to get me to come to him and get away from the vehicle. So a stray bullet didn't catch me. Now think about that though. He ran out there, put himself in harm's way to help get me back over there and then get me into cover. I mean that's the kind of men and women that we have serve in our military. The people that will run towards gunfire, run towards danger to save people that they care about, save strangers for that matter.
Mm.
So anyway, I'm laying there on the ground, and it's just I feel very vulnerable. I feel awkward. I really don't know how injured I am yet. I just know that my bell's been rung. You know, I remember looking at this hand, and it was kind of messed up, and this arm was kind of messed up. Well, a weird thought hit my head though. It was like it's kind of selfish and kind of funny too. I remember I was looking at this hand, and you know, it was all messed up. It didn't look obviously as bad as it does now with all the missing fingers, but I remember thinking, I was like, man, I better get a day off for this. You don't get a lot of days off in combat, you know.
So first lesson: never lose your sense of humor, no matter how bad it is.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. But yeah, I feel very blessed, man. And yes, it was a long road. They got me medevac. They got me to the hospital in Baghdad. My driver went one way, I went the other. And through all of this, you know, the whole time, I get out of the Humvee. I'm looking for my guys. I can see my driver. They were trying to take care of him. I'm looking for my other guys. I don't see anybody. Same thing, you know, we get on the helicopter, and I'm asking my driver, I'm like, hey man, I said, you know where everybody's at? And he goes, nah man. I said, we'll find out here pretty soon, I hope, you know. We get to the hospital, I'm asking doctors and nurses, I'm like, where's my soldiers? As I'm laying on the ground, I'm asking, nobody will tell me. And I'm like, where are my guys? Nobody's making eye contact. And I understand that, you know, that you got to do that, you know, because I know some of these men and women that are in the medical profession, as they are in critical situations like this, they've got to be able to sleep at night. I get it. But I was just wanting somebody to make contact with me in an intimate manner because I'm really concerned about where my friends are. And all of a sudden, the doctor that's standing above me, he looks down and, you know, I'm looking at him kind of upside down. And he said, you'll find out in a couple months. I had no idea what that meant. But at that moment, I was medically induced into a coma, or at least that's the last thing I remember before I went into the coma. I spent 48 days medically induced. I came out of that. I was so heavily medicated for like a year and a half. You know, I developed, I guess you could say, a natural addiction to the medications that I was on. And, you know, and I mean that in a very real sense. And I didn't even realize that I was addicted because, you know, I'd go to surgery, I'd go through recovery, and I'm still on them. Go through surgery, go through recovery, and I'm still on them because I'm not healed up yet. I mean, it took like 60 surgeries before I could even really get to a point where I can say, you know what, I think I'm going to be okay.
Wow.
I mean, so early on, I mean, it was just back to back surgeries. And that was something that one of the testimonies that I really like to share with our chiropractic community and especially the veterans out there that might be dealing with pain and feeling like they have to have these medications in their life. They're probably addicted to them and not even realize it. And even if they realize it, some of them are like, yeah, I'm still okay. I don't really know if I want to fight that battle yet. Well, what am I going to do for the pain? Well, I'm talking to the two guys right now that can tell you what to do for the pain.
Yep.
Yep.
I mean, chiropractic care saved my life. And yes, I needed all of that in the beginning. I needed the firefighters to come in and put the fire out. But you guys, you're the guys that, help keep the house sturdy. You're the guys that come in and help fix the house and make it better each and every day. And that's why I see this right now. This is my house. This is my body, my vessel, and I got to take care of it. And I was putting all these chemicals and all this stuff in it that they said was, I want to say coping, because they never really said it would make me better, but it was more like a coping mechanism to deal with pain, to deal with the stomach problems from the pain medication. And on top of that, I was self-medicating with alcohol. And here's a common misconception that I always tell is, okay, they say, well, I'm not abusing my meds. If you drink and you take your medication when it clearly says on the bottle not to drink, you're abusing your medication. You are. One beer, one glass of wine, two cocktails, you're abusing your medication. And it becomes a habit. And it becomes this thing that you can't get out of. And that's where I was. I went to the point where I had a pistol in my mouth because I didn't feel like I had any hope left.
Yeah.
I was able to put the pistol down, thank God. And I called a friend, started trying to make changes in my life, cut back alcohol, started trying to step away from the medications again. But all of this, okay, well, I guess I should back that up too. How did I get right there? It wasn't just from the military, because when I came out of the military, man, I was doing good. I realized I was addicted, and I fought that battle hard. I got the pills kicked, and and I kept some on reserve just in case. But I wasn't fully integrated into chiropractic yet in the whole health. I got rear-ended by a semi. I know, right? Everybody's like, "What? Wait, what did he just
What?
say?" That's right. I got hit by a semi truck on the interstate, and it put me back in recovery.
Wow.
And that's the one that almost took me, because I was like, "Is this just going to be my life?" Like one recovery after another.
Wow.
I mean, it was. I just felt like it was this vicious cycle that I was never going to get out of. Well, I was able to put the pistol down. Now we're moving forward. Start living my life. I get invited to a veteran event, out in Dallas, and I'm like, you know what? I really need to do that. Just get out and be around some of my peers and hear some success stories. Maybe have a good weekend. And guess who I met there? Dr. Novelli with the Patriot Project. And I saw the sign and I saw the chiropractic table, and I had enough experience with chiropractic. I knew exactly what it was. My neck was so bad that I was literally throwing up from pain from time to time. I mean, it was horrible. And I was taking my medication, took my painkillers often, and I was drinking. But, after my bad episode, it wasn't as much. It was just enough to cope. In 3 days during that event, every time I walked by the table, Dr. Novelli and his colleague adjusted me, little adjustments here and there, for 3 days.
God. Yeah.
I mean, from head to toe, head, neck, I mean, jaw, shoulder. I didn't even know you could adjust my jaw.
Yeah.
I mean, all of this. I mean, they went from head to toe. And some of it was the gun, or what do you call it, the actuator?
Activator.
Yeah, the activator. And some of it was that. Some of it was, and some of it was massage.
Yeah.
When I left that 3-day weekend, I had hope. I didn't take another pain pill. And I swear, that's the true story. When I left there, and Dr. Novelli told me, he said, man, he said, you really don't need those. He said it's probably doing more bad to your body than anything else you're doing. He said you really need to get off those painkillers. And I was like, I'll try. And he was like, don't try, man. He said you really need to. And he said even if you have to have a cocktail in the evening just to relax, and until you can get fully off of it, he said do that, man. He said, but you don't need anything. He said you don't need any of that bad stuff in your life. I weaned myself off. I did good, man. I was cranky for a few days. But Dr. Novelli took the extra mile and he started flying me back and forth to his practice up in Ohio. I'm down in Texas. And I was like, man, I said, yes, that's a lot to do. And he said, that's what I do. He said, that's what the Patriot Project does. And he said, I want to take care of you. I want to get you on the table. He said, why don't you come up here and see me for about a week and we'll do therapy for a week. And that's when I got introduced to the whole health lifestyle,
Right.
diet, the supplements, you know, cutting out alcohol, cutting out this and watching that. And I mean, of course, meditation. I mean, I've been into so many different holistic practices now that I mean, I really feel great. I can't imagine my life before. I couldn't ever imagine going back to that either. And so, man, I want to say thank you guys so much for what you do and the lives that you change. And there's probably some people out there that you may not even know, or maybe you do, but you've probably saved somebody's life. But I can tell you this for sure: chiropractic care saved my life.
Wow.
Chiropractic care saved my life.
Well,
So thank you.
well, we can't thank you enough.
Right, we should be thanking you.
Right.
You know, it's funny when you hear people say chiropractic can save lives, chiropractic can change lives. Now, for a lot of chiropractors, it's a throwaway. The reason why, in other words, they say it, they maybe never have experienced it before, or they've heard it themselves, and they know, you know, as chiropractors, we know it's a great profession, but we really wanted you to come on here and tell your story because we wanted people to experience it firsthand, what you've been through. So we want to thank you, one, for sharing your story, but two, for your service and going through this, finding chiropractic and helping us to bring it to the forefront, because I'm sure there are many more veterans out there, such as yourself, with post-traumatic stress disorder that don't have the hope and inspiration. If we could help one of those people, then this is worth it. Like you said, through the Patriot Project or through this video or whatever, or through your inspirational words. But my head is spinning with all kinds of things I want to ask you. The one question, I know Rick has some questions as well. The one question I want to ask, it's just burning inside of me, is you said, you kind of just flippantly said, I just put the gun down. There had to be a point in your life when you came out of that coma and you realized the extent of your injuries. And I mean, I'm thinking to myself, if that were me, I don't know if I would put the gun down. You found a way. What was the turning point in your mind that said to yourself that life is too precious? I need to live, to put that gun down initially. What can people learn from that mindset? Because, you know, we talk about this whole COVID-19 thing, and that's one aspect, right? This is next level.
Yeah.
What was the change, the turning point in your mind at that moment?
Let me give you a little bit of a build up to that moment, because there might be somebody out there that thinks their situation is so unique that, you know, there's no way out. And I have come to find out that I've talked to other veterans and even other people that have struggled with adversity in their life. You know, they think, well, my family life is crap, you know, and I'm never going to be happy. My spouse is never going to be happy. My kids are never going to be happy. Well, that's not true. I can tell you that for a fact, you know, and that's where I was. I woke up that morning and I realized my wife didn't say goodbye to me. I don't even remember her saying goodnight. You know, it seemed like we just kind of passed each other in the hall. My kids were sassy. They didn't seem happy with anything in their life. I didn't see that they had any friends. You know, it just seemed like everything in our life was so dark and miserable. But when I woke up, I realized that that was just my perception. And then I was casting a shadow on my family. My perception of the situation is what made it so dark and grim. And you have to change your perspective. You got to try to take yourself out of that fog and out of that cloud and get this aerial view of your situation and really look at it and go, okay, what can I change? If you're an alcoholic, guess what? You're part of the problem. Mm. If you don't have a job and you don't want to get a job, that's probably part of the problem. If you don't have a job and can't get a job, that's something else. You know, don't give up though. I guarantee it. You know, I mean, there's people still hired. My daughter just got a job. She's 17 years old. It may not be the job that you want, but if you want to work, there's jobs out there. You just might have to start low and then work your way up. I mean, that, believe me, I've had to do that more than once. But it's changing your perception. Okay, so there I was. My morning was just dark and gloomy, and I remember walking by the mirror, and it was not like I looked at the mirror. It was kind of like this side view, and I had this peripheral vision of myself, and I looked like this little pot-bellied old man, and I'm in my 30s, and I was like, what the heck was that? And I turned around and I go back and I had these big dark bags under my eyes. My muscles were, I mean, I was just frail looking. I was pale. There was no soul behind my eyes. I gave up. I'm standing there and I'm contemplating. And I was like, dear God, please, just give me one good thing that I can look forward to. And I had a picture of my daughter just flash in my mind. And then I heard my dad's voice in the background that said, "You're not done, soldier." Mm. And I was like, oh my God.
And your dad was in the military, right?
Yes. Yeah. And it's funny because there was a point when I was in the hospital that I didn't really want to get up, and because I hurt so bad all the time. I mean, my body, it was in so much pain. I didn't ever think that anybody could ever endure that much pain. And I didn't want to get up. They wanted me to go do physical therapy that day. And I was like, I can't do it. And they said, oh, we really need you to do it. And I'm like, no. So they left me laying there for a little bit. Well, my dad came into the room. He just stood at the end of the bed and had his arms crossed. Was looking at me. And anyway, he just kept looking at me. I was like, what do you got to say? And he said, are you done? And I said, what does that mean? And he said, are you done, soldier? Is this it? Is this all you're ever going to be? Are you done, soldier? And I was just like, nope, no, sir, I am not. And I had that same quote just coming to my head when I'm right there. And he was like, are you done, soldier? And I was like, no, I'm not. What kind of legacy am I leaving for my children if I do this? If I do this, I'm telling my kids it's okay to give up. I'm telling my kids it's okay to commit suicide. I'm telling my family it's okay to give up. And I can't do that. I want to leave my family a legacy that they can stand on for generations. I want my family to be proud of my achievements. I want them to have their own achievements. And I want to be there to see those achievements. But if I do this, my dark cloud is going to transfer to everybody in my family. All of my friends is going to put a dark cloud on everybody that I've ever tried to put any kind of positive light on. And that's not my legacy. And I can tell you, even today, I'm not done.
Just getting started.
What class did you take today in college?
That's right. That's right. So, and I'm going into religious studies too. So what I want to do is eventually I'd like to have a ministry or something along those lines, or help out with a ministry. Have you ever heard of Dave Reaver, Vietnam era veteran? Amazing presenter, good man of faith. I've met him a couple of times, and even before I met him, we had kind of looked up each other. We had a lot of similar dynamics in our recovery, just generations apart. And he's such a good man, and he really inspired me in so many aspects of my life that I've been wanting to go to college. And then when I lost all my jobs for a year and a half, I was like, well, it's not like I'm busy.
You're hanging out with us. What more do you need?
Exactly. So what's your excuse today, Shilo? So what's next, guys?
Well, the question I have is that what I believe you bring to the world is the ultimate perspective, right? You were faced with, am I done or am I not done? I've been knocked down. Do I have the strength to get up one more day until I can leave a legacy? And whether it's the current times, whether it's COVID, whether it's racial, whether it's political, whether it's millennials, it doesn't matter what it is, there seems to be whether it's excuses, rationalizations. There are just a lot of people hurting for whatever their reason is, where they're not reaching their potential, their legacy. They're not just living their authentic, true versions of themselves. What do you say to them? What words do you have that you were able to use for yourself that can get someone to stand up one more time when they've been knocked down, or really to start to see true perspective as to what their life could be?
Well, you got to think, I've been doing this for 14 years, or I guess about 14 years. I'm not really keeping track. It's back in 2007, when I got hurt. So, uh, it's been a roller coaster. I can't say even today I'm always on and up. I have my bad days. I have PTSD. I have health issues. I still have mobility issues at times, but I am regular at chiropractic, and that helps me quite a bit. This is what I want to say to people. And this is what I do say to people, is that if you are feeling like you're stuck in a rut, the only person that can pull you out of it is you. I mean, that's the bottom line. You have to have a purpose in your life. And if you don't feel like you have a purpose, you're going to have to create a purpose. I felt like my life was over when I was laying in that hospital bed for, weeks and weeks at a time. And I was thinking, I'm never going to be in uniform again. I'm never going to be able to serve like I wanted to serve. I'm never going to be a soldier again. Well, I'm always a soldier. I'm a soldier always right here. The problem is that when you get stuck in this rut, you don't really know how to get out of that rut, but you have to have a purpose. You have to find that purpose. And that's what I had to do. And there's so many times that I'm like, I don't want to do it. But I would literally make myself do it. I'd literally make myself leave the house. I'd literally have to make myself pick up the phone to call somebody. I have hearing problem. I mean, you name it. Whatever you think is holding you back, it's mental right now. But you have to have a purpose. You have to get out there and start living your life. And it starts with your health, in my opinion. If you're not healthy and you keep putting bad stuff in your body, and you're having all this medication and stuff bogging you down, you really need to start trying to make changes in that area, because that stuff's going to keep holding you back. You're going to take the pill and it's going to be like, oh, well, I'm okay. You're going to get comfortable, and then you're going to turn the TV on. And then about 4 hours later, you're going to be like, oh, well, it's too late to go now. Get out, start early, go volunteer. If you don't have a job, go volunteer somewhere. If you can't work, that's fine. But you have to go out there and live some kind of life. You can't sit at the house and just expect life to happen to you. I mean, especially with everything that we're faced with right now. I found myself in a really bad funk reading the news every day. And I did. It started pulling me down. Well, you know what? I started not reading the news every day. I'd pick up the highlights every couple of days. And of course, you can always find everything you need on Facebook, right? Come on, that was good.
That wasn't bad.
But yeah, there are a lot of things that our society is facing right now. There's a lot of uncertainty. You have to really focus on self-care. Self-care, self-care. My wife and I, we found ourselves just kind of hunkered down and not really knowing what we could or couldn't do. And we were scared to go out. And I told her, I was like, so we're going to have to just do what we have to do. We're going to wear a mask. We're going to use hand sanitizer. We're going to clean the house. But we have to get out there and start living our life. And we have. And we've got the kids out there to where they're getting jobs. We go hiking. We go kayaking. We go fishing. We do things. We don't just sit at the house and read the news and think our life is over. We can't. You can't. And yes, I don't have a lot of work right now. So what? I joined college. I went to college. Let's go to school. Go to school.
So what would you say is your highest calling? What would you say is your purpose or your ultimate purpose? Okay. How would you articulate that?
Right now, I still put one foot in front of the other, brother.
Yeah.
And that's true. I have a lot of faith. I have faith in the Lord. And my faith, I think, has really gotten me through a lot. And I don't want to discourage. And that's the other thing is, going into religious studies, I want this to be almost like a chaplain with the military. They're versed in religion in general. And that's where I'm at, because I have a lot of friends that are different faiths. different, they've come from different countries even, and I mean, we have great conversations and we talk about faith. I want to know about theirs. They want to know about mine. And, it's not a way to put each other down. And so that's what I'm really looking at is I want to have a better understanding of faith and how to help people, because again, faith and having a purpose in your life can make all the difference in the world. Did I answer your question, or did?
Yeah, you said before, which struck me just a couple more thoughts on my head is, like I said, it's spinning from listening to you. One of the things I want to go back just for a second, when you got out of the Humvee after the explosion, your first reaction was, how am I? What's wrong with me? Your first reaction was, how are my people that are under me? To me, that's a true leader. That's what leadership is all about. But it kind of fits under the whole scope of what you're talking about, purpose. When we see chiropractors, and I always tell people, listen, you can look at a Shilo and see that's one extreme, obviously. And then you can look at somebody else, maybe their practices are down or whatever they're going through, because it's all relative to them. And it doesn't matter, and it's not a comparison. But anytime I see somebody down or in a funk, as you called it, it's because we're focusing on ourselves.
Yeah.
But when you said, when you find your purpose becomes about service to others and how I can help other people. And when you turn to that and you let go and you have your faith and you just let go of everything else and you just trust that process and you start to say, how can I help others? How can I serve others? That's when you start to get out of your funk. And that's when you go within your meditation, your visualization, you quiet the mind. And you say, what can I do for other people? And it's the moment you do that, that's what I got from you. Whether it was in the worst situation, on the side of a road just after an explosion, in the hospital, and to now, as you said, I'm going slow. I got to put one foot in front of the other, and the world is chaotic right now. But my purpose, I'm going to go back to school and learn, and so I could be of service to others. Yeah. And to me, that's the message that I got out of here tonight. It doesn't matter what your vocation, it doesn't matter where you are in your life, how good or bad it is. For some people that are stuck on this plateau, or worse, they're going backwards, they're stuck in a rut. As you said, you have two choices. You could feel sorry for yourself, or you can do something about it, right?
No, thank you for summing that up. You're right. Yeah. And that's why I guess I kind of lost track. Yes, I got kind of tied up because, honestly, I'm tired from the first day, like going through all this stuff. It's a new world. Yeah, sure. But yeah, you summed that up perfectly. You're right. My purpose at the beginning of the year was I'm going to get back out there and start making presentations, and start doing what I do, get back writing my book. And yeah. And then all of a sudden it's like, I didn't have a purpose. And then maybe I did start, while Jamie and I were both kind of hunkered down, like, well, what are we going to do? Well, what are we going to do? We're going to find a purpose. And that's what we've done. We started working more on our books, and now we've got a couple of other book ideas. And so, yeah, we're making ourselves busy. Because if you're just gonna sit in front of the TV all day, you're gonna be depressed, I mean, but you're right, and it is about service. What can I do to help make the world a better place? Because as bad as my situation is, I can guarantee that somebody's situation is worse than mine. And I know that's probably hard to say. I mean, you think about it. I mean, I'm really blessed. I don't have to worry about my hair very often. I got to be like, well, which ears am I going to wear today?
That's right. Accessorize. Well, it's getting late. We can't thank you enough for your time and your spirit and your energy. Like as Brett said, we have chiropractors listening. We have lay people listening, and you've been an inspiration to us. And throughout our years, when Brett and I are out and speaking to students and speaking to audiences, we've tried to take a lot of perspective from whatever knocks you down, just stand up. You'll figure it out once you get up. Just don't lay down, right? Just keep moving. If it's one step at a time, 1 inch at a time, it doesn't matter, right? And you just exemplified that for us. And we know that you probably hear the term "thank you for your service" all the time. And again, sometimes it's just you see someone in uniform, they just automatically say it. But you're not only the message of hope, but your message of opening chiropractic to thousands and thousands of people that will never understand. Your message to children to understand what it is to live a life that's bigger than yourself, and that as long as you have faith, as long as you have 1 ounce of strength in you, you're not done. And I love, are you done, soldier? I'll be saying that to my kids every minute. Right. Especially when they try to go to bed without brushing their teeth.
Yeah, we steal everybody's lines and
right. So thank you not only for your service for our country, but thank you for the countless thousands that you continue to help to motivate. You're a friend of ours. We love you and look up to you like a brother, like a mentor. And we're only just excited to hear that you're at school, just, even bettering yourself that much more. And once this craziness is over and we can start traveling again, we look forward to crossing paths again. You can guarantee that.
Absolutely. Hey, I'm not going to stop traveling. I'm just going to be careful. That's all.
Fair.
I'm going to live my life.
Yep. You know it. You know it.
And I might drink a Corona on the way. Who knows?
You're the best, man. So on behalf of Brett and I, the rest of our Chiro Destiny team, the chiropractic profession, and the rest of Americans that have listened and have been in your headspace and in your heart space, we love you, man. Stay safe. We look forward to connecting soon, buddy.
Rick, Brett, love you guys. And I'll let you know when the movie's coming out too. So we're making some progress still, slow going. These things take time.
It takes time.
And then you got kinks being thrown in there, and I mean, it's just crazy.
But the end product
is all worth it. It's all worth the journey.
It'll be great.
That's right. Absolutely. All right, guys. Love you guys.
Thank you so much.
Love you guys, buddy. Be well.
All right, you
too.
Good night, everybody.
All right.